Hey guys, this is Dr. Andy with AG Thrive, and we are here to help you grow the life that you want and how to be intentional, have the resources, tools, and strategies to make sure that you're getting unstuck and living an awesome life. So today's topic that I want to cover is how to never get stuck. It's basically a process of how you can become more resourceful, and resourcefulness is huge, right? It's kind of like, I'm going to date myself here, but how to access your inner MacGyver, right? And so for anyone who doesn't know what MacGyver is, I guess go on YouTube and check out MacGyver. But MacGyver was, and I think they've recreated a recent news show, so hopefully it is somewhat currently relevant. But MacGyver was a guy that would get in these crazy situations, right? Like he'd always be stuck and terrorists were coming to come after him, or he was stuck in just these most incredible situations. And then he'd have like a set of tools. I think it was always like duct tape, like super glue. I don't even remember what it was now, but he'd always have a few like resources available to him, and he could immediately go into problem solving mode, and he'd get himself unstuck and through like these incredible situations. So anyways, so I want you to learn how to do that for yourself, but how to do that in the areas that matter most to you. I highly doubt most of you are going to encounter the same circumstances that MacGyver did weekly on his show. So I'm going to give you a set of tools that's going to help you do that in your life. So the first part of this is keeping an open mind, right? When we tend to encounter adversity or setbacks, it usually triggers cortisol or some type of stress reaction or response. And the minute that your nervous system starts to release all those stress chemicals, your creative problem solving tends to shut down. And so you become more rigid in your thought process, and you tend to stay stuck kind of in past ways of dealing with things, which often means that you're not able to be innovative or kind of, create a novel, solution to the problem you're facing. So the more you can try and keep an open mind and be flexible in the way that you're dealing with things, thinking of new ways to handle it, thinking of, I think a good technique sometimes to do is, if you're stuck in a problem, is just to get a list and think of 20 possible ways to solve that issue. The first 3 or 4 are probably your go-to ways of dealing with it, right? Those are going to come easy and natural. Somewhere after 4 or 5, it's going to start becoming way more difficult. And then as you stretch yourself, you probably will have some pretty cool, unique, creative ways of solving a problem. All right, so step 2 of how to become your inner MacGyver is to know that there's a solution available, right? That might seem obvious, but again, when you get stuck and you're frustrated and you're experiencing adversity, or especially a problem that you've encountered over and over again, sometimes it really does genuinely feel like there's no solution to it. There's a whole phenomena called learned helplessness that relates to this experience of feeling like there's everything you try like doesn't work, and at some point there's just a feeling of like there's no point in trying anymore, right? So I'm going to encourage you, whether it's using a mantra or listening to this video or reminding yourself, there's always a solution to a problem. Even if you can't see it in that moment because your current perspective is, one of frustration or you're stuck, then maybe you need to access getting support or help, or looking to your support circle, to try and find different possible solutions. So I love the movie The Martian. I shouldn't say I love it, but there's a scene in there that I love. And Matt Damon, for those that haven't seen it, Matt Damon is on Mars. He's stuck up there because there's, some technical malfunctions. This is way outside my area of expertise, but he ends up through a series of like mathematical problem solving and some crazy teamwork and stuff. He's able to make it back from Mars. He gets back, and now he's teaching at NASA or wherever it is that he's teaching. And he sits in front of his class and he says, when you go up in space, you're sure to encounter problems, right? But if you just focus on solving the first problem, and then you solve the next one, and then you solve the next one, you might just get yourself back home. I love that scene, and I think it's very appropriate to life a lot of the times, right? If you just keep being radically solution focused and you just keep solving the problems in front of you, you might just grow the life you want, or, kind of have some radical breakthroughs. So step 3 of becoming your own MacGyver is just accessing your internal resources. This does require probably a little bit of like good self-awareness, right? So just understanding like what are your natural strengths. what are the things, just like MacGyver always had the duct tape or, a couple of items on him that he could use to get himself unstuck or out of that problem. What are some of the go-to strengths that you have that you can rely on that will help you? Is it that you're just very persistent? Is it that you're relentlessly optimistic? Is it you have great social skills and you're able to connect with people easily? So just kind of knowing, what are those internal resources that you can draw upon in those difficult times that are going to help you to start to get unstuck and kind of moving forward. Step 4 is accessing your external resources. So on this one, it's just being able to start to immediately look at, what is my circle of support? Do I have anyone in my life that I know, would be a great person to check in with or, to ask for their help or support? And if I don't, if there's not anyone that's immediately available or I can think of that has an expertise or is particularly good in this situation or scenario, maybe accessing external resources is buying a book, taking a course, learning a new skill, or of course, calling up AG Thrive, to help us be there as your go-to coach, counselor, and consultant. But it's just looking outside of yourself to know that if you don't have the internal resources to deal with it, there are people that do. There's a model out there somewhere that you can access that's going to help you. So step 5 here is to prototype and experiment. This kind of comes from, there's a great book called Designing Your Life, and it's based off of a class up at Stanford. I think it's like the most popular class available up there, and it's about designing an awesome life. But one of the steps that they say is that the more you're willing to experiment and try things out, you actually start to create your own luck, right? So if you're stuck in a problem, maybe you go back to that list of 20 possible solutions that you've created, and then maybe you start to look at hey, what is the most likely outcome of this possible solution? And once you've identified 1 or 2 of those that you think has the best chance of being successful, then you just start to experiment. Or maybe in working with your external resource, maybe your brother-in-law or, a cousin, whoever it is, had a really great idea. And so now you're willing to just take some chances, apply what they suggested, and just be willing to understand, you're going to get feedback off of that. And the more you're willing to just keep experimenting until you find that solution, you're going to have a breakthrough by just having that mindset and using that kind of strategy or skill set. All right, and so step 6, the last step here of becoming your own internal MacGyver and making sure that you never get stuck is be persistent. This is probably my favorite one. When I even look at my own internal strengths, I have not always made things easy for myself, from graduate school to undergrad to many other areas. I always had a tendency that last semester to really just, make things more difficult than they had to be. But one thing I know about myself is I never give up, right? And so, I think that's an awesome trait or characteristic, and it's something I really want to make sure that a message I get out. As long as you never give up in life, as long as you're always willing to just keep pushing forward, there's always hope, right? There's always a chance that a breakthrough is right around the corner. And so being persistent and just being relentless and kind of pushing forward, that today is a new day and a new opportunity to get it right, is probably one of the most empowering, positive mindsets and attributes that you can have. And especially when you pair it with the other 5, steps or kind of mindsets that we talked about here, that is a powerful set or process to apply that will make sure that you never get stuck, right? I know never is a powerful word, but I'm going to stick by that. This is Dr. Andy with AG Thrive. If you like this video, please click on the like button, or if you are interested in getting more content like this, please subscribe. And if you have any interest in connecting with us or learning more about what we do, please visit us at our website at ag-thrive.com. Hope that you are crushing it and really making significant progress in growing the life, love, family, and success you want and deserve.